All right, call your witness.
Got an defense calls Joy Lorick.
Someone will swear or affirm the testimony that the truth will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have a seat right up there now. Once you're seated, state your full name, spelling your last, please. Okay? Joy Goldie Lorick, Lorick.
Just look, you need you to speak right into the microphone, okay?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Is that comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Do you work?
No.
Okay. Ms. Lorick, you were one of the babysitters for the Jones family, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me, how did you get to know Mr. Jones? How did you come to be involved?
Through my friend Christina Elke.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
What do you mean?
Well, were you working for somebody else and then started working for Tim?
Yes. I was babysitting for another family, and the husband had trying to put me through in their family stuff, and I got out of it, and Miss Elke was like, well, Tim's looking for somebody to come keep the kids in his home. So I was like, okay.
And this was during the summer of 2014?
Yes, sir.
And did you go to Tim's house?
Yes, I kept the kids at the house.
And what was the condition of the house when you saw
It would be like dishes, clothes everywhere, trash overflowing.
were there bugs?
Oh, yeah. There was like a few roaches.
It was dirty.
Yeah.
And did you try and clean it up?
Yeah, I tried to like wash the dishes and try to pick up a little bit while I was there.
And how did that go? How was keeping the kids there?
Huh?
How was keeping the kids there?
Oh, it was fine.
You had all 5 children there?
I had all 5.
Because they weren't in school at that time.
No, at this time everybody was out of school
For the summer.
for the summer.
And did y'all decide to take a trip?
Yes, sir.
And where did you go?
We went to the beach,
Is that Myrtle Beach?
Myrtle Beach. Yes, sir.
Do you recall when that was?
I don't know the Pacific time. I know by the time we got to the beach, it probably was about 4, 5 o'clock that morning. It was like early that morning. And then we got up. Mr. Jones went and got some food from McDonald's. Kids ate, and then we went down to the beach for a little bit. And after that, we left.
And went back to
Went back to South Carolina. I mean, went back home. So
Let me show you what's been marked as defense exhibit number 296 for identification.
Mm-hmm.
You recognize the date on there?
yes,
Is that 6/27?
7. Mm-hmm.
6/27/14 to check out 6/28/14.
Yes, sir.
And that's for parking for Myrtle Beach.
Beach. Yep.
During this time, the defense would offer number 296 in evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
296, and without objection.
While y'all were at the beach, did y'all go down to play in the ocean?
Yeah. Mr. Jones and the 3 oldest kids went down to the ocean, and I stayed up ahead with the 2 babies.
Okay. Was there a time where Tim and the kids went swimming?
There was a time where the kids was like up towards the water where the water comes up. And as I looked out, I could hear somebody screaming like, come on, come get in the water, y'all missing out. And I looked further on, and Mr. Jones is like further out in the water, like way out there in the water.
He was trying to get the kids to come out to him?
It was like he was calling the kids, he was calling everybody out and was telling everybody they're missing out of being in the water.
And that was the first time he had ever been to the beach?
Huh?
Did he tell you that that was the first time he had ever been to the beach?
No, sir.
Was it the first time the kids had ever been to the beach?
Not that I can recall. I don't know.
Was there a video taken while y'all were there?
Not that I know of.
Have you watched a video from the beach this morning?
Yes. I seen it this morning, but I don't remember that.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the defense would offer $2.98 a minute video from the beach.
No objection, Your Honor.
That objection. It's $2.98.
Children's on the beach. First game. Come on, babe. Hey. Yeah. Go out there and do a big old jump splash. Go do a big old jump splash. Go out into the hay. Go look at that big wave. Go get it. And my shoes, my sandals. And they're washed away. Keep going. Seashell. Is
that Elaine down there at the beach?
That was Elaine.
And if Elaine was down there, do you think that you were there too?
It could have been. I just remember having them with me, so that's far back, so I can't recall of them even coming to get her from me, taking her down, because it was so long ago.
Shortly after that trip, you came back to Lexington?
We went back to Lexington. Mr. Jones dropped me off at my friend Christina's house. Her daughter was doing this type of television show thing that day. So he dropped me off there, and then he went on home with his kids.
Now, y'all had another trip planned?
We had another trip planned, maybe about, I can't remember the times, but maybe about 2-3 weeks after. It could have been longer than that, and we went to Florida.
Okay. Where were you going in Florida?
Sir?
Where were you going in Florida?
We was going to Disney World. And he wanted to take the kids to SeaWorld.
Let me show you what's been marked for paper purposes. Defense exhibit number 297. This is a receipt from Orlando, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And does it have a date on it?
That's June 30th, 2014.
Okay, so that would have been about 2 days later.
Maybe about 2 days later. Yeah. Because I don't know the Pacific. I said it could have been 2-3 weeks later, but it could have been around that time too. I don't know.
Sure, it could have been just a couple.
Yeah, I'm not too specific about the time.
Okay.
I mean the date.
All right.
Yeah.
Your Honor, the defense would offer 297 in evidence.
Objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection.
Now, on the way to Florida, did anything happen to the car?
As we was driving, well, anybody that knows kids, like when you driving a long period of time, kids tend to get agitated, and so the kids start like moving around, yelling, jumping around and stuff. And Mr. Jones told them that he would pull to the side of the road and make them get out and do squats. And I was like, oh no, So,
You thought he was serious,
oh yeah, yeah.
and you stopped it.
Yeah, I was like, no, but we just kept on driving. But once he told the kids that, they just settled down, and he was like, y'all just take a nap and go on to sleep, and that's what they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did y'all stay at Disney World?
We got there that night. Mr. Jones was like, there was a bar across the street. he was like, I'm gonna go over across the street, and I was like, okay, and I stayed, and I kept the kids while he went across. So we stayed like a night and then a day, and then we went home that next day after Disney, after we left out Disney World and stuff. We were supposed to go to SeaWorld, but he was like a storm was coming. So we ended up leaving the next day.
I'll show you what's been marked for ID is fence number 292. Are those the tickets to SeaWorld?
Those was the tickets.
All right, we'd offered fence number 292 in them.
I believe there's no date on this, Your Honor. I believe we just have the stipulation as to the date of this event. I would have no objection as long as there's a stipulation to the date of the trip and the date of this event.
And she said late June of 14?
Yes, but it's early June.
Oh, okay. Early June of 14?
Or early July. I apologize. I mixed it up myself.
So it was late June.
Late June, early July. That's
Okay. See, I was listening. All right.
I'll get the exact dates, and we'll put them on here, and then move it in.
All right. They'll be admitted subject to a date within reason, late June, early July.
That's 292.
Yes. Now, Ms. Lorick, did Tim ever talk to you about his family?
No,
Did he ever talk to you about his mother?
no,
He never told you his mom would cut her hair off and bury it in the garden?
no.
Did you give a statement in this case around September the 11th, 2014?
About
Did you give a statement?
just a statement?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
To law enforcement?
Yes, sir.
Have you reviewed your statement?
Not in a while.
Okay. Is this your handwriting?
Yes,
And is that your signature?
yes.
I just give you that because you refresh your recollection.
Okay, yes, I did roll it, but he didn't tell me that. The kids told me that. Mira.
About his.
Mm-hmm.
About-
Mr. Jones never told me. The kids told me.
Okay. And what did the kids tell you?
That she had cut her hair off and buried it in the ground and something about bones or whatever. I can't remember. I just remember that. So, kids telling you something like that, you just kind of be like, oh, okay. I was just like, oh, okay. And just.
Was there an incident that happened in the hotel room while y'all were at Disney?
Yes.
And what happened?
What ended up happening after Mr. Jones went across the street, go to the bar, the tongue started jumping around, and I asked him to stop, and Gabe just started screaming, like squealing to the top of his lungs. And I kept asking Gabe to stop, but by that time, Mr. Jones came back and he heard it. And he was like, I know I just heard her tell y'all to stop, y'all didn't. And he pulled down both their pants and spanked them with a belt.
And that was in front of you?
Yes.
And what did you do?
I was just like, after, I was just like, don't, stop.
Okay. So did he stop?
Yes.
Did you have some concerns about what the children, whether or not they were getting enough to eat?
Yes.
And why was that?
It was like when he would like McDonald's, like it would be like only 1 to 20-piece nugget with 2 large fries, and they would have to share that 20-piece nugget. Me being at the house and feeding the kids oatmeal all day, it wouldn't really be nothing. I probably remember one time he came back with Little Caesars pizza. It was like only 1 box of Little Caesars pizza. But other than that, that's what I fed the kids all day is oatmeal.
So you were never there when he fixed dinners?
Oh no! By that time, I would leave. I worked it from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night.
Okay. And the one time that he did buy a 20-piece nugget was with you when he was in Florida?
I don't recall the 20-piece nugget when we was in Florida. I remember stopping by Chick-fil-A,
Okay.
and he went in there and got food while me and the kids was outside, and he walked inside and got food and brought it out.
Okay.
Yes.
But you don't remember this 20
No, I don't remember no 20-piece nugget. We never stopped by McDonald's
in Florida
in Florida.
on the 30th?
No, not that I remember of, but I remember it was a Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to show you a couple of pictures, which I believe are fence 268, 269, 270, 271, 80, 281, 282, 286, and 289. We would also do them.
No objection, Your Honor, those are the ones previously agreed upon.
Jim and Joy, make sure you got the numbers.
268,
Yeah.
269, 270, 271, 280, 281, 282, 286, and 289.
All right.
And these are pictures from when y'all were in Florida, right?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell the jury who else in that picture?
That is Natan, Mira, and Eli. That is Elaine, Mira, Natan, Eli, and Gabe.
That picture's got everybody in it? Except for,
Sir.
except for you and Tim were in that picture.
Mm-hmm. That was Mira, Eli, and Natan.
Now, they appear to have badges on.
Yeah, it was like the if I can recall, I think it was the things to SeaWorld. It was like I can't recall what it was. It was like badges or something. And I want to say it was like the badges to SeaWorld, like when we go in SeaWorld or to the park. It was so far back, but I knew it was some type of badge or something around their necks.
And each one had their name on it.
I want to say, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, it's so far back, so.
But that's how you used to ride rides and get into places and buy stuff.
Yeah, it was something. That is Mira, Natan, and Eli.
And the hats on their heads, do you recognize those?
Not that I can recall, not that I can remember.
Do you ever recall like those hats being put up in their rooms back at the house?
No. That is Mira, Eli, and Natan.
And do you know the characters that they're with?
Woody, and I can't think of the other character's name.
And was anybody particularly fond of Woody?
Natan. That is Mira in, I think Natan. Yeah, Natan. And I don't know who that is.
Is that Eli over there?
Yeah,
And do you
it
know,
looks like him.
who this character is?
No,
Mayor?
I don't know, maybe Cinderella, I'm thinking, or Sleeping Beauty.
Be Rapunzel?
It could be.
Did Mira have a particular affinity for Rapunzel?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
That is Eli, Natan, and Mira, and that is Cinderella.
And then this was this at Disney or was this somewhere else?
That had to be somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't recall that picture at all.
Okay. But it's Gabe and Elaine Eaton.
Yes, that's Gabe and Elaine Eaton. That's Mira, and I want to say that's Natan. I'm not too sure because the heads turn.
Yep. And they're eating lunch too.
Yes.
Now, while y'all were at Disney, did you notice Tim doing any drugs?
Sir?
Did you notice Tim doing any drugs?
No, sir.
Did you ever think that he was high?
Not that I know of. I do remember one morning, I knew he smoked cigarettes. I do know that. I remember one morning of me going to the house, like I said, it had to be there 7 o'clock. And I remember one morning of going to the house, I pulled up and there was like this smell, like this chemical smell. It wasn't bleach. I cleaned with bleach, so I know what bleach is. But it was just like an awful smell that makes my nose burn. And when I asked him about it, he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, oh, that is awful. He was like, well, I got to go. I'm on my way to work. So I walked in. I checked on Elaine. She was asleep inside her playpen in the living room. Went and checked on the other kids. And I opened up the front door to try to air it out. When the kids got up, I made them something to eat, and I was like, we're going outside until then. Because they was like, what is that? And I was like, I don't know. But it was just like an awful, awful smell. Don't know what it was. Don't know what he was doing when I got there, before I got there. But it was just,
That was back here in Lexington, right?
yes, Red Bank. Yes.
So after y'all came back from Disney World, how much longer did you work with Tim Jones?
Not too much longer after that. Yes.
What happened?
I was using my dad's car, and my thing was that when I got off, my stepmom worked at the airport. So when I got off, sometimes I would have to go pick her up. And it was just this one particular day I got off, and my dad had already had picked her up. And I got to the house, and I had a phone call from Mary Tanner, and was like, I had some mail at her house. So I was like, okay, so I went up there, and I got my mail, and I came back, and I could tell it was tension. So when me and my sister rode to the gas station, I was like, what's going on? And she was like, I'm not getting out. I said, no, you're going to tell me what's wrong. I said, I don't like walking back into a house and something's going on. So my sister was like, well, Daddy and them said that you don't put gas in the car. And I did. I just didn't put it in when they wanted me to put it in. And so I got gas that morning, and I was just like, that's it. I'm going to give them back the car. I'm not keeping nobody's car. I just won't have no way to work. So that's the reason that I stopped keeping the kids. It was not about financial reasons. It was about that I could not make it work without having transportation there.
Did Tim think that you owed him money?
Yes. He told me that he had paid me 2 weeks in advance, but I know he didn't. So he had told Miss Elke, Christina, he had told her, he was like, I know that's she told me that he was like, I know that's your friend. Just let her know that if she doesn't pay me back, then I'm gonna have to take further actions as far as taking her to court for my money. So my reply back to her was, well, you tell Mr. Jones he does what he has to do. Whatever he has to do, he does it.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was shortly before you called DSS?
That was way before. That was like before. Yes.
And you called DSS in August of
It was, I think it was around by August, I want to say. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this call to DSS in August of 2014, had you been with the kids that day? Had you been with the kids in August of 2014?
Not that I can recall of. You talking about when I made the call?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I was nowhere around the kids then.
Okay.
I just remember after I stopped keeping them, I asked Miss Elke to please make sure that she fed them because I wasn't too sure how he fed them at nighttime. I just remember me feeding them oatmeal all day. And I remember a certain time when they had told me it was one day that he was getting off work and they just kept asking for oatmeal all day and I fed them. You know, any kids, I'm going to feed them. I don't care how much that kid done ate, like an hour, 2 hours ago, I'm going to feed them. And I remember they said, Miss Joy, could you not tell Daddy you just fed us? Because he might not feed us again. And I said, I would never do that to y'all.
Were there times where there was leftover food in the fridge that they were supposed to eat?
It was one particular day I got there to the house and I watched the kids Monday through Friday. And I got back. I forgot what Pacific day this was, but I got back. But it was something where Gabe wouldn't eat his food. And I remembered I had made the kids food. I had cooked them, was cooking them oatmeal that day. And I remember, I can't remember who it was, but they went in the refrigerator and they pulled out this bowl. And I was like, what is that? And they was like, that's what Daddy made a couple of nights before, but Gabe wouldn't eat it. So he said, Gabe has to eat it. They said so much Joy, Gabe has to eat that food. And I said, no, he's not. He's going to eat what we're eating now. I'm not making him, and I threw it away.
That was because it was Tim's policy that the kids didn't finish their food.
They had to eat it.
Keep eating it until.
Yes. It was also one particular time that Gabe, it was something with Gabe. I don't know. I could never figure out what it was with him. But Gabe would like smile. Like he would have like this smile on his face. So when he'd chew with his mouth open. And I knew it was just something special. Like one day I didn't know what was wrong. I said, Gabe, I said, that's true with your mouth closed. And he closed his mouth, but then he opened it again. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to pressure him because something's wrong. And I never questioned what it was. And I remember the kids was like, Gabe moved from the table. And I was like, why? And they was like, well, last night when we was eating dinner, Dad made Gabe move from the table. And he made him move from the table while the rest of them finished eating. And when they finished eating, Gabe was able to come back to that table and eat. And I was like, I'm not doing him like that.
Were the kids ever scared of Tim?
No, not that I care. You know, I mean, they're kids. You have kids that even if they're, you know, they love their daddy. And I know they love their daddy. But they just knew when they did something, you could tell that if they knew they was going to get in trouble or not. But no, they never seen that. They were scared of their dad.
Was there a time where I think you took Mira to a place where a friend painted her nails?
It was a time that she was at Miss Elke's house. I wasn't there, and I had called to check on them, and she was telling me that her daughter had painted Mira's nails, and I guess, you know, Mira just enjoyed getting her nails painted, and once she realized they was painted, she starts freaking out and was like, Ms. Elke said she just started freaking out. I was like, get it off before my daddy come, and he ended up coming, and he was like, Mira, you know better.
That was against the rules.
Because that was against the rules. They, you know, Mira had to wear like long dresses or like, you know, pants and stuff. Like she couldn't wear like shorts or whatever, or, you know, but just certain ways that he wanted his kids dressed. And fingernail polish was out the ordinary. But no, I was not there that day. I called to check to see how they was doing, and that's what Ms. Elke said that they had painted, and when she realized they painted it, she started freaking out.
You thought Tim was weird?
Yeah.
He never told you heard voices?
No.
He never told you that he was afraid of the kid?
Oh, no.
Thank you, Ms. Lorick. Please answer your question.
Okay.
Ms. One of the reasons you ended up in that job is because you love kids.
Oh, yes.
Everybody knows that about you.
Oh, yes.
And these kids, you love with your whole heart.
Oh, yes. Yes.
All 5 of them.
Yeah.
And when you saw what you saw at Disney World, did you know at that time that there had been a DSS action where he was not supposed to lay hands on those children?
No, ma'am.
He never told you that.
Oh, no, no.
That whole time you were working for him that summer, he never once told you there's a DSS case and I'm not allowed to discipline my children
No, ma'am.
by hand or by bail.
No.
And y'all spent that whole time together on the trip down there.
Mm-hmm.
8 hours pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we'll just need you to say yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But y'all were in the same hotel room.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Then the ride back together, you're in that same car.
Car. Yes, ma'am.
Before that, you had taken the trip together to Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach. Yes.
Same car.
Same car.
Same hotel room.
Same hotel room.
So you spent hours upon hours with this man.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that whole time, Miss Lorick, there was never a single sign that there was anything wrong with him mentally.
Oh, no, no.
He always knew exactly where
Oh,
he
yes.
was,
Yes.
what he was doing.
Yes, he knew who I was, who the kids was.
Never had any type of a situation where he had a break from reality.
No.
He always knew right from wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
So he chose not to tell you that he wasn't supposed to lay hands on the kids, but when you saw it, how did it make you feel?
Kind of bad, you know. Made me feel real bad for him.
Natan was 6.
Natan was 6.
Were his pants on or down?
Down.
And was that with his hand or with the belt?
With a belt.
Gabe was 2.
2. Yep.
And he had that 2-year-old pull his pants down too, didn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
Struck him with the belt too, didn't
Yes, ma'am.
he? Repeatedly.
Yes.
That stayed with you, didn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So when you made that call to DSS, Miss Laura, you were there with Miss Tanner?
I was right there with her. I got to her house that day, and I was just, because me and her haven't seen each other in a while, and she just basically asked me how I was doing, and I got to talking, and when I talk, I just start rambling on, and I started talking about Mira and them and the stuff that I felt, you know, that I knew they was going through, and I was like, I feel like if I make that call to DSS, there's nothing going to be done. And she said, well, we're going to make this call together. And I said, okay. And that's exactly what they did. They did nothing.
So that's one of the things that had weighed on you. You felt like you needed to report it, but you weren't sure that it would lead to anything.
Yes.
It still weighed on you, and you talked to Miss Tanner about it, and the decision was made to call DSS.
Yes.
Even though in your heart you felt like
Yes.
they wouldn't do nothing.
Yes. Yes.
You were right there when that call was made.
Oh, yes.
That call into DSS, did it name Natan as the person that had been hit at Disney World?
Yes.
Did it name Gabe,
Gabe,
2-year-old, as the
yes.
person that had been hit at Disney World?
Yes.
So DSS had that information.
Yes, ma'am.
That trip to Disney would have been early July, I think is the stipulation.
Yes.
So we're talking roughly 7 weeks maybe
Yes.
before the children were killed. And up until that very last time that you saw Tiffany Jones and had a communication with him,
Yes.
Ms. Lord, was there any doubt in your mind that he understood the communication between you?
Oh, yes. He knew.
Clear and
He was
rational?
clear. Yes. When I work for a family, I like to know the parents, the grandparents. It was one particular time, there was a photo album under some clothes, and I forgot it was one of the kids that put out. I was like, oh, a photo album. When I go to people's houses, I like to look at pictures. I like to ask questions. Who is this in your family? And I was like, can I look at the album? And one of the kids pulled it out, and we looking at it, and they seen their mom. They seen the picture of their mom, and I said, who's that? And they said, that's mommy. I said, that's mommy. They said, yeah. They said, Miss Joy, I wish you could meet our mommy. I said, I wish I could meet mommy too. Because of me working for a family, even regardless if you're a single mom, single dad, I like to know grandparents, aunt, uncles, I would like to get to meet the family and stuff. And I felt with, even though their mom, even though I never got to meet their mom, and no matter what her and Mr. Jones was going through, I felt that it was right that she had a right to know who was keeping her kids. That's just me, I would want to know who's keeping my kids. And they did. They said that we wish that you could meet our mommy, and I said, I wish that too.
They spoke good of their mommy.
Oh, yes, they loved their mama. Yes. They told me they could not wait till they got ready to see her.
And how did the children react about that photo album when they thought their dad was coming home?
They hurried up and put it back. I was like, once we finished, they put it right back. They was like, don't tell Daddy that we showed you this photo album. I said, I won't.
Because in his presence, did you ever witness the kids being able to talk positively about their mom?
Oh, no.
In his presence?
No, they was never allowed to talk about their mom.
Do you remember the defendant telling you, well, the children don't have no respect for women?
Yes.
And what was your response to that?
I told them, I said, well, with me being a woman, if I'm going to be around them, they will have respect for me. So my thing with that was, he had his opinion or whatever, but, so.
Do you recall telling Mr. Jones that it was in fact him who didn't have respect for women?
Mm-hmm.
Those were your words?
Yes, you could tell it was just something about women. Women should be seen and not heard.
You mentioned earlier on direct examination that the kids were hungry. How often did you see that?
A few times, a lot of times and stuff. Elaine, like, if I would be cooking or whatever, she'll start and I'd be like, baby, it's almost done. Like, she would go like screaming hungry, like she hadn't even eaten.
What would you normally feed them, Joy?
Ma'am?
What would you normally feed the children?
Oatmeal.
Was there ever a time that the defendant seemed, do you remember a time where he seemed concerned about a delivery?
Yes, it was supposed to be something delivered to the house from UPS. And I remember him asking me, had the package, he called and asked me, did the package arrive yet? And I said no. Then I remember shortly after that, he ended up coming home. I don't know what he was looking for, but it was just something important that he was looking for.
Some type of package?
Some type of package, yes.
Do you remember a time where you described him smelling like an herb cabinet?
Yes, it was just something, I don't know, it was just a faint smell.
And then the time you recalled that there was some type of chemical that you could smell?
It was a type of, I got there that morning, it was just type of like, you could smell it coming through the house, coming from the house before I even walked into the house. You could just smell it. When I got in the house, it was just awful. It made my nose burn.
Do you think that was around the time of the Disney trip?
Sometime
that summer?
It was sometime that summer, maybe early on, before, I'm not too sure.
And what do you remember about the condition of the home?
Clothes everywhere, trash overflowing, dishes everywhere, and there was it was roaches.
You described seeing him use physical punishment on the children. What
Yeah.
other forms of punishment do you remember seeing that appeared unusual to you?
It was where they would have to stand with one leg up, one arm out, squats. It was like different stuff. And then I remember one day Mira and Eli was like, they called something. It was a type of name they called something, and he was like, Mr. Jones was like, oh goodness, like that. And he was like, well, go show Miss Joy what y'all talking about. I forgot the name of it. And they walk out, Mira and Eli walks out with this big bedpost like this. And I said, he said, well, show Miss Joy what y'all have to do with that. And so they had it like this, and they're bending down, doing this. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, like they're kids. Like,
That would hear the usual punishment.
yes, oh yes.
Ms. Lorick, you didn't know about the DSS action.
No, ma'am.
And when you made that call to DSS, you weren't aware of it.
No, ma'am.
Had there ever been a time where you yourselves were concerned about the health of the children?
Oh yes.
And the environment that they were in,
Yes, ma'am.
and that led you to ultimately make that call to DSS?
Yes, ma'am. Even though this time Miss Elke was keeping them, like I said, I would call her and I would inform with her that before they leave your house, you make sure you feed them. Make sure you give them something, because I'm not too sure what he's feeding or how much he's giving them. And she was like, you know, I'm going to feed them. And I said, okay.
And you not knowing about that DSS plan, was there a time that you had a discussion with him? Do you remember him having a discussion about not wanting the kids to be in school anymore?
Not wanting them to be in school. I never knew about DSS. I just know that he wanted kids to be in school. They wanted them to be in school and asked me would I teach them at home. And I'm like, I don't have credentials for that. So when he would go to work, his thing was they had little laptops at the house. And so when they got up while I was cooking, Mira loved to help me cook. She loved to help me cook. And so a lot of times she would come in the kitchen and help me, and other ones, Natan and Eli, would start doing like stuff like reading or doing math stuff. So he always wanted to do like math or reading or science stuff on their little laptops or get a book out and read. So I would, I would let them do that. But yeah, I told them I did not have the credentials for them to be homeschooled.
So it was sometime after May of 2014, sometime after the school had made that report regarding the time, he decided he didn't want his kids to be in public school anymore,
So yes,
and actually wanted you to be the one to homeschool them.
yes.
You told him no.
I told him no because I didn't have the credentials. I can't homeschool a child if I ain't got credentials to do it.
Thank you, Ms. Lorick.
So the time, when you called DSS
Yes,
in August, right?
yes.
And you told them that the children had been beaten black and blue?
I don't recall that. I recall of telling them that they were spanked with a belt, but I never said black and blue.
Okay. So if they wrote that down, they got that wrong.
Yes,
And you told them that they weren't getting enough food,
yes.
and that was the 20-piece chicken nugget.
That was 20-piece chicken nuggets and me feeding them oatmeal like all day, but that was me feeding them. Yes,
Now, you said he always knew the difference between right and wrong.
yes.
You said he was always rational.
Sir?
You said he was always rational. Rational. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, yes.
Spanking a 2-year-old with a belt is not rational, is it?
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Yes,
Making a 2-year-old eat days-old leftovers because they didn't finish their meal, that's wrong.
that's wrong.
The way that Tim disciplined his children, that was not rational to you.
No, it was wrong.
And you had to tell him that that was wrong.
Yes,
And there were times where you would tell him he was wrong and he would listen.
Well, he wouldn't listen. His thing was that women should be seen, not heard, and those was his kids.
When you told him, don't pull the car over on the way to Florida, he didn't do it.
He didn't do it, but he did state to me those was his kids.
And when you told him to stop spanking them in Florida, you listened.
He stopped, but I was informed those was his kids.
Thank you, Shweta.
So the bottom line is, he was gonna do what
He wanted to do, because those was his kids.
Right or wrong, he was
Right or
gonna do
wrong.
what he wanted to do.
Yes.
And you weren't gonna tell him otherwise.
No,
In his mind, those were his kids.
those was his kids.
And about the black and blue, do you remember seeing marks on Gabe after he got that whipping?
Not that I recall.
Do you remember the defendant telling you that it was your business to keep the kids and his business to discipline them?
Yes.
Nothing further.
They stepped down.
Okay.
I'm just trying to decide whether to go ahead and go now or not. We're gonna take some testimony, then break for lunch, then we'll come back. Minutes? Sure. You send them out? Y'all want to sit for 2 minutes? I want to go to the jury room for 5.
We go.
All right, sit right here. You got 2 minutes.
Don't y'all beat me up. Sorry, y'all.
How you know what's holding on? How do you know that?
Ms. Williford, tell us how you know Tim.
Junior or senior?
Well, start with Junior.
He is my stepson.
Okay. And so you were married to Big Tim, Tim Senior at some point.
Correct.
And what was the time frame of y'all's marriage?
Well, the time frame, well, we were together for about a total of 15 years.
Okay. And was it about 1991 that you were married?
That is correct.
Okay.
April.
And how old were you then?
19.
Was that your first marriage?
Yes.
And how old was Tim Jr. at that point?
He was 10 years old.
All right. And did you and Tim Sr. end up having any children of your own?
Yes. We had 2 boys,
2 boys. And they are?
Tyler and Travis.
Okay. And when were they born?
Tyler was born 91 and Travis was born in 92.
All right. So I guess the difference in age between Timmy and Tyler and Travis is about 10 years. Is that right?
10, 11 years, yeah. They're Irish twins.
Yes. Okay. Did you know members of little Tim's mom's family, Cynthia's family?
Yes, I did.
And I probably should have started with this. Where were y'all living at this time when you and Tim Sr. got married?
Well, we moved into Carpentersville,
Okay. In what state?
Illinois. Sorry.
And you knew members of Cynthia's family from that area?
Yes, I did. Ingleside is where the town that they resided in.
Did you know them before you and Tim Sr. got together?
No, I did not.
All right. And what members of Cynthia's family did you know?
I knew his auntie Martha, which would be her sister. I also know her other sister Linda, and I also knew her brother Domingo.
Okay. And did you know Christopher?
Yes, I met him, as well as Eddie and his grandmother, Maggie.
All right. And did you know an aunt named Sheila?
Yes,
And those all would have been siblings to Cynthia, Tim's
Correct.
mother. All right. And I'm not asking you to try to make a diagnosis, but in your interactions with those members of Cynthia's family, were they normal people or did they strike you as abnormal?
they struck me as abnormal. I just felt that there was something wrong, that the grandmother never came to visit her grandson or participated in events, just great events that go on in your life. You know, I don't know, you're in gymnastics and you see him up there jumping around, and it's a great thing, you know, sharing birthdays, sending a Christmas card, just love. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am. That was Maggie.
That is correct.
And Domingo, that was an uncle of Tim's, right?
That is correct.
And did he die recently?
That is correct. He actually, I'm very good friends with his wife, and he committed suicide and shot himself. I think it's almost 2 years now,
Okay, 2 years ago.
maybe less.
When you and Tim Sr. got married and you had Tyler and Travis, what is Tim Jr.'s sort of role in the family now that you have your own sort of little family?
Well, he's their big brother, and I don't know, we're family, just all together as one.
And you wanted to make him part of your family.
Absolutely.
Did problems arise in your marriage with Tim Sr.?
I think in every relationship there are problems, yes.
Yes, ma'am. And did alcohol play a role in the problems that you and Tim Sr. had?
Yes.
And did your relationship ever get physically violent?
Yes.
Were there ever times that the police were called because of the violence in your home?
That is correct.
And was the violence that was occurring in your home, were those things that were witnessed by Tyler and Travis and Tim Jr.?
Unfortunately, yes.
Was there ever a time that you know that one of your young boys actually was the person that called the police?
Yes, he was actually the one. He crawled out of a window, and he went over to my neighbors and had asked them to call the police.
And that was because of violence between you and Tim Sr.?
Correct.
When Tim Jr. was little, Tim Sr. loved him.
Absolutely.
Was he also hard on him?
I think, yes, he was. Like all parents, we expect certain expectations for our children to meet, achievements, education, social skills, you know, what I think every parent wants for their kids.
Right. Were there times that you thought that he went too far in terms of him being rough on Tim Jr.?
Yeah, I do believe that there was times that he was rough on little Timmy. You know, short-fused, I guess is what you could say about Tim Sr. But, you know, there was times I think that he could have refrained from certain verbiage.
Yes, ma'am. And you love Timmy. I know you told me that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, though, was there a time ever when he was young, growing up in your household, where is it possible that things that you did or said to him could have made him feel unwanted or unloved?
In all honesty, there may have been times where I have said things to him that I may have hurt his feelings. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. And when things were rough at your house, when Tim Jr. was growing up, where would he go sometimes to spend time?
So a lot of times, if he would be angry or he would get upset with me, like most, I guess, moms, you know, it would be pick up your clothes, get your, you know, clean up your room. Why do you have that dish in the bedroom? You know, I don't like that, you know, because we're going to get bugs. Just things in general. And I also believe that it was kind of a respectful thing and a disrespectful thing. He didn't like rules, and he would get upset with me, and then he would go outside. A lot of times he would just go to his room, depending on the home that we had. We lived in 2 residences. One was in Carpentersville, and the other one was in Algonquin, Illinois.
And did he ever go spend time at his grandmother's house, Roberta's house, when things were rough at your house?
Yes.
All right. Now, would you consider the environment at Roberta's house at that time, was it much better than what was going on in your house?
I don't think so.
All right. And why is that?
Well, I believe that there was, you know, a lot of partying going on. She also had a teenage son.
Yes.
So, like, I guess most teenagers, you know, they tend to drink or party or whatever, and I think that there was smoking going on. I don't know exactly to what extent, but, you know, so, I mean, those things were going on in my home. So what you decide is correct or wrong, I think anytime probably drugs or alcohol is around is probably not a good environment for anybody.
Yes, ma'am. But you knew that there was violence in Roberta's home as well, too, right?
Yes.
And the people there, adults and non-adults, were drinking and doing drugs at times.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Tell us about Tim Jr.'s relationship with his aunt Elaine.
Well, I think his relationship with Auntie Elaine was, it was great. I mean, if you knew Elaine, she was, oh, my goodness, sorry. She was just a great lady, and she was a good auntie. And it was a really hard time because I think he missed her. Because I don't know, Elaine could pick anybody up and give you a hug, and you just knew her presence. I don't know how to explain it. She was just beautiful from the inside out.
And she died pretty young, right?
Yes, she was very young, and there were 3 other children that were her children, and it was a very tough and hard time.
And I think Timmy was around 13 years old when Elaine died.
I believe so.
Tell us about the effect that Elaine's death had on the family.
I would think that, I don't know how every family can explain cancer. I don't think there's a word that describes it. I think it emotionally takes you from the inside out, and you have a lot of strains. My husband, he drank a lot, probably for good reason. They were very close. I don't know, if the car broke down, you picked her up, you'd find her, kids needed to be watched, we watched. You know, I don't know, all the kids, Timmy, I think it was hard on him. I mean, you see her laying on the couch, and, you know, you don't want to put her in a facility because it's family. You don't do that. You just, everybody pitches in, and Timmy saw that on a daily basis, and I can't imagine it was easy. It was not easy for us. I can't imagine it was easy for the children either.
And she had children too, isn't that right?
That is correct. Bubba, Jennifer, and JoJo.
And when Elaine died, where did her 3 kids go to live?
Well, they were having a custody battle, and again, Timmy is around this. You know, it's just a very ugly situation. 2 people struggling to hold on to something that they loved, and there was just a lot of going back and forth. And the kids did stay with us in our home in Algonquin, and I think our house in Algonquin was beautiful. Beautiful yard. Kids played all the time, forts, laughing, I don't know. It was just they were good kids.
I think you already mentioned that after Elaine's death, Tim Sr.'s drinking got worse, is that right?
It did.
Did his violence increase in the home?
It did.
And what was one of the signs that you saw during that period of time that you knew you were going to have an unpleasant evening when you saw Tim?
Well, pretty much I can say if Tim came home with a bottle of Crown Royal, I was pretty sure we were going to have a hard night. Any bottle at that point, too, I would say would be a hard night. You know, when somebody is drinking and they're upset and there's a lot of emotions going on, yeah. And little Tim knew it, too. He knew when his dad was drinking, he was not the nicest person either. I mean, it's very hard. You know, he's always tried to do the right thing, applying himself, showing us he could make good grades, you know. I mean, he got a job at Walmart. I thought it was pretty amazing. He would get on that bicycle and he would ride to his job, which, I mean, it was probably, I'm going to say 7 to 8 miles uphill, which I could never do. But, you know, he would go, he'd put his backpack, he'd get his bottle of water, he'd go to his job, he'd come home. He was pretty good.
And there were times that the police came and Tim Singer was arrested, right?
That is correct. There were times when the police came and then they knew. So we're in a kind of I consider a small town. I'm born and raised there, and the police would just take him away for 24 hours off the premises, you know, because they knew the situation that was going on in my home.
But it wasn't only just taken away. Sometimes he was actually charged, right?
That is correct.
Tell us, if you would, just about when Timmy starts going to church.
So he would go to church on Sunday mornings. A bus would come pick him up, and he would go off to this Baptist church, and they would pick him up pretty much about, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then he wouldn't come back till like 12:30, 1:30. I found it kind of odd. I'm a born and raised Lutheran, and I would go to church, and the only time I was in church for more than usually an hour and a half is communion, because obviously communion is a little longer service where everybody, you know, can take the blood and body of Christ. So it was just different. I thought it very odd that he was attending this Baptist church and gone for so long. I didn't understand what that church was really about.
And how old was he when he started doing this?
So he was going there, I would say definitely, we're living on Sioux, so it was like he was 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old.
And when he got home from his time at church, what types of things would he do on the weekends?
So, like every kid, he'd come home running up from the church with his Bible in his hand, happy about what he'd heard for that time. He would eat, interact with his brothers a little bit, and then he would go off on his own to his room.
Was that a normal thing for him?
It was a normal thing.
Throughout the time that you lived with Timmy, that you were part of that family, did he ask you about Cynthia, his mother?
Yes, he did ask about his mom. And it wasn't really so much that he was asking me about his mom. You have to realize that I have 2 children that Tim and I share. And when you are hugging them or loving them or kissing them, you could see that he was earning. He wanted this too. You know, it's very hard to have a connection with a 12-year-old and to step in the picture and try and be a good person. But, you know, the kids he interacted with the boys. But again, it was, you know, Tyler and Travis took a lot of my time. You got to imagine they were 11 months apart. So, you know, pretty much they walked at the same time. They talked at the same time. So it was like having twins. So it was a lot of times of everything going on.
Yes, ma'am. When he did ask about Cynthia, though, what types of things did he want to know about her?
If I knew her, if I heard stories about her, he would sometimes tell me that, you know, she was, and I hate using this terminology, she was nuts, crazy, which I don't particularly care for that word as well. But it was asked, and I would be like, I don't know, Timmy. I have never met your mother. She's never contacted us. I have never, and this is back in the day when you have a home phone, not phones everywhere. And she never visited. She never sent cards. Nothing with him. again, I don't understand that part of it. That was, you know, and I felt for him. I mean, you know, here he is doing this stuff, you know, looking for to be a pat on the back or, you know, a hug and a kiss, you know. I mean, I remember him graduating. It was huge. But yeah, he would just ask. And I didn't have the answers, unfortunately.
You were, or Timmy was living with you when he got into that first car accident, is that right?
That is correct.
And he was 15, I think, is that right?
Yes.
Tell us about what you knew about the circumstances of him and his cousins using the car and what happened.
So Tim and I went out for the night, and we had let Timmy go to his cousin's house. We always try to get him to go with his cousins because we thought it was important for him to be, you know, around his mom's family so that, you know, that he can have a relationship with his cousins, his aunties and uncles. And we received a phone call that he was in an accident. It was a bad one, from what we could gather. We didn't get all the details. We just knew that he was at Good Shepherd Hospital. And just off of the top of my mind, you know, maybe I might not have been his biological mother, but in an instant, I knew Martha's phone number right off the top of my head.
And tell us again who Martha is.
Martha is Timmy's aunt, he was with those cousins.
And that's on his mother's side.
That is correct. And so we got to the hospital, and you know, of course, we were grateful that he was okay. I mean, it was awful. I mean, you can't. I'm sure, and I don't mean to sound selfish, because I'm sure everybody is a parent or a grandmother or whatever you are or what role you play in your family. It was devastating, and you know, we were worried about him, and they did the proper medical examinations that we truly believe that were followed. I will tell you, it put a very bad strain on the relationship that I had with his aunt and uncle, because we had trusted that those kids, when we give them to them, that they are to watch them and make sure that they're okay and not get in situations as best as they could.
Yes, ma'am. So were you upset about them letting the kids use the car?
I was just upset in general that, yes, they were using the car, and yes, that they were drinking, and if they knew it, it shouldn't have happened. You know, I mean, he's my son. What do you expect? You know, I'm protecting him. This is, you know, I'm sure I probably said some terrible words to them, and to be honest to you, to this day, I don't regret them.
Yes, ma'am. After Tim's accident and head injury, did you notice a difference in his personality, his behavior?
No, he was a normal teenager to me.
Right. And the things that you noticed going forward, you thought were just part of puberty, adolescence, becoming a teenager.
Yep.
And what types of things did you see in him during that period of time?
During that period of time, he was, you know, I just thought was a normal teenager, just talk back, yeah, whatever, you know, and I would be like, Timmy, why do you have to walk on my clean kitchen floor? If anybody knows me, I have a very clean kitchen floor. And I'll be honest with you, it was just stuff like that. Just in general, he was just a teenager. I don't know. Pick up your bike in the driveway, you know, I don't know.
Did he become more isolated after that?
I feel he was by himself a lot, and it was bothersome. I had talked to Tim and told Tim, you know, Tim, I don't know what's going on with him, but something's going on with him, and I don't really know. He's a teenager. Talk to him about, as everybody else would talk to their children, I'm sure I'm probably not the only person, drugs, sex, life.
And did you know that he started smoking pot after that?
I did know that he was smoking pot after that. I had brought it to Tim's attention because it was just a different Timmy. I could just tell. You know, the Timmy that would look at you, that would get mad at you because he left a dish in his room was one thing. This was a different Timmy that was coming home, and you could tell there was definitely something going on where he was probably participating, yes, in, I would say, marijuana.
And those things were obviously different from the way he was when he was younger.
Well, yeah, when he was younger,
Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't think that it was the car accident that caused those things?
Honestly, I'll be very, I did not know that there was that extent of that injury. I blame myself today because if I would have known that he needed medical attention or, you know, something that was going to cause him to create chaos in his life or maybe not have him be able to participate in a sport or further education, I would have had him examined.
Yes, ma'am. After the car accident and Timmy's becoming a little bit older of a teenager and some of these behaviors, how are things between Tim and Big Tim?
Well, it got a little rougher because unfortunately we lost another family member, which was Tim's brother. I call him Little Larry.
And what was the effect on the family of Little Larry's death?
It was the first strike when Elaine was gone, it was a tornado. The second strike with the brother being gone was just a monsoon. It was an aggression of drinking, verbiage. I think it was a tough time, and I know it was tough on Timmy. You know, here we are seeing every family member in every direction being broke. Sort of like, you know, you look around and you're just trying to every day wake up and make it a good situation and try and get through the best that you can. Timmy was close with Little Larry. They were only a few years apart. They played games together, video games together, you know, swam in the swimming pool. Just, I mean, they were like brothers in a sense because they were closer in age as opposed to his brothers.
Were there confrontations in the home between Tim Sr. and Tim Jr.?
Yes. Confrontations meaning like, I don't know, Timmy would get a little sarcastic from time to time because he thought he was right. Didn't really want to hear anything that Big Tim had to say because he thought he was wrong. Timmy was pretty smart, so there is some times where I have to say that I've learned some stuff from him. I'm not embarrassed to say so. But it was button heads. They butt heads quite often with just arguing about stuff.
Were there times that you actually had to get in between them?
Yes, there was times where I did get in between Tim Sr. and Tim Jr. And once again, I protected him. I wouldn't let anybody harm him or hurt him. And they just both needed to separate. Just take a breath. Guys, and I don't know how to explain that because unless you're in the situation, you really can't.
How did you feel about Tim Jr.'s decision to go into the Navy?
In all honesty, I was shocked.
Why?
Well, if he couldn't listen to simple instructions like picking up your room, I couldn't see where he would go into the service and they would be telling him what to do, how to dress, just whatever they ask in the service. Because I just thought, wow, he's really going to listen to somebody that's going to tell him what to do. And it just shocked me, to be honest with you. I did not expect him to go to the service.
Did you think he was tough enough to handle it?
I didn't think he was tough enough to handle it either. He was very emotional. His feelings were genuine, don't get me wrong, but he had issues.
And what was your understanding of why he made it such a short period of time? Or I shouldn't say made it, didn't make it, but was only in the Navy for such a short period of time.
So it was to my understanding that he had popped his eardrum to get out. Now, I was not with Mr. Jones, Tim Sr., so I don't know, but that was what I was told. And I did not even know that he had that he was discharged for a mental evaluation.
After he comes home from trying to get into the Navy, does he move back in with you?
No, Tim and I were done at that point.
Okay. He ends up getting arrested for some things that involved you, right?
Correct.
And tell us what those were.
So I was missing some checks in my checkbook, and there were some credit cards that were used. They were pretty high. And unfortunately, back in the day, we didn't have a lot of money, so it was really... And things, obviously, I don't know if they have changed or not. I'm glad to know that now, but it would be For every bank or for every check that was bounced, it was like a $125 charge. The charges, I think, were at one time for the checking account was $2,800. I don't remember all of the details, but it was a pretty good amount that I know that we couldn't take care of.
That's money that Tim Jr. had taken from you through your checkbook or credit card.
Correct.
And he had some other charges as well, isn't that correct?
That is correct. He was, I believe he was high. I'm not sure what he was on, but he had taken a vehicle. And that was pretty much the extent of that.
And you're aware, obviously, that he went to prison.
Correct.
And when he gets out of prison, are you and Tim Sr. communicating still or not?
Yes, but not really. You have to understand I have Tyler and Travis as well. Not saying I'm pushing Timmy aside at this time, but I have to focus on the things that I need to do to take care of my family and to make sure that we're okay.
But had things gotten bad enough that you left that relationship?
Yes. You can't fight every battle. You know, you have to pick your choices. That's the way I've been raised. You make decisions, and then, you know, obviously you want to make the right ones. When things happened with Timmy, I know that you say it was prison. In my mind, it was never prison. I thought it was boot camp. I thought he was going to go to a boot camp, and he was going to work on himself, and they were going to provide the service for him to make sure that he gets on the correct path. So in my mind, he was on the correct path. He had made the decision, and he knew what he was up against, and I believe it was a good one. Then I no longer really speak to Tim that much because I am making sure that I'm now going on, I guess you would say, my boot camp.
I think you're right. It was a type of boot camp, but it was part of the prison system. But you're right. It was a boot camp. May I have just a moment?
Objection to relevance, Your Honor, or like time?
That's right.
Sure, this would be a good time to break. Sure, if you're going to go for lunch, we'll take that up. We'll make a record out. So y'all go to the jury room. We'll discuss the case. Lunch should be here for 15 minutes. Do what you want to do. I'll manage time. We'll be back at 1:45. Okay?